Now, you mentioned in one of your emails again that you kind of, the photography bug sort of bit, so to speak, when your brother-in-law, what is his name?
His name's Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, Paul. We every New Year's or Thanksgiving area, we go down to a beach house in Corolla, North Carolina, and he started taking pictures. You know, it was beautiful sunsets and stuff like that, and he started taking pictures, and it was just a little point and shoot.
Right.
Nice camera, but point and shoot, and you know, the results were pretty amazing. He came out with some good photographs. So I started thinking, I was like, we get to go to these cities that people pay to go see, and these stadiums that are cathedrals, and these structures that are just awesome, that you know, for my first 9-10 years in the big leagues kind of take for granted.
Right.
So I was able to, I really wanted to be able to take it all in, and it was cool because I got to see parts of the stadiums as a player you don't get to see. I mean, pretty much as a player, you get to see the dugout and you get to see everything at field level.
Right.
You know, not very often do players get up in the upper decks or in the concourses and the concession stands, and you know, it gave me a new perspective of the stadiums, and I upload them on Flickr, and it gives the fans a different perspective because they don't get to see what it looks like on field level and
Right.
on the plate and inside the clubhouse and things of that nature.
Interesting. Wow. And you said you bought your first camera, a Canon 60D, it sounds like, at spring training last year in Fort Myers with the Twins. And from there, did you just say, okay, did you set a goal like, okay, every ballpark I go to, I'm going to start taking pictures and that type of thing?
Yeah, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted every city that I wanted to start it out every city and ballpark. And there's only a handful of cities where the ballpark is right downtown. And if the ballpark wasn't right downtown, typically with the Twins, we didn't stay in the city. So there was only a handful of cities that I got to take picture of, actually walk around downtown and take pictures of. But I was able to get every ballpark except for one, Cleveland. I wasn't able to get it. It was never, for whatever reason, it never worked out, or the weather wasn't great, or the lighting wasn't great to take shots of Cleveland. So I was never able to get that. But every other American League park I was able to get, and a couple National League West parks that we went to last year.
Okay, great. Can you talk about when you started taking pictures and got into photography and, you know, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the off season was when Paul was taking those pictures, and I got interested. So from then on, from November till spring training, I basically just did research, studied. I wanted to learn how to take pictures on a DSLR, which is the digital cameras with the interchangeable lenses and things of that nature. I wanted to learn shutter speed and learn aperture and learn the different techniques. So basically I did research and studied, not on cameras, but how to take photographs. I did that for about a month and a half, and I'm still continuing to do that. I ask the professional photographers that are out there every day at different techniques and lighting and things of that nature. And finally felt confident enough to be able to take the step and buy a camera. And then I did research on what cameras to buy, and I didn't want to get the most expensive one because I didn't know how. You know, I've always had great ideas, and I say yes, I'm going to do this, and then I do it for a week, and then I never leaves the closet. So I didn't want to go out and spend so much money on a nice, beautiful camera, but at the same time, I wanted to get something that would, you know, give me a good product.
Sure.
So Canon 60D is a prosumer level, and it's not a consumer camera. It's not a point and shoot, but then again, it's not what they would use out here to take pictures of a game either. So, but the lenses I did invest in, because lenses you can carry no matter what camera you have.
Sure.
So they always told me that it's up to the glass, and that's the lenses. So I got really good lenses. I've got 4 lenses, and the lenses basically range from a wide angle, where I use for most of my stadium shots, to a zoom lens, which I can get right up on things.
Right.
And I've got a fisheye, which I usually take from the top of stadiums to get the whole stadium in.
Okay.
And then I've got a mid-level zoom that can get some wide angles and somewhat close, and I usually use that to take pictures of my son and stuff like that.
Oh, great. Okay. When you said the trip to the Outer Banks with Paul and the family, and you said November, are we talking like November of 2010?
Right, correct. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So this is a pretty new hobby for you.
Very new, very
right?
new. And then I went into it, our first trip was in Toronto, and yeah, I mean, you can definitely see if you go on like my Flickr page, it's all chronological order. So it starts in Toronto, which was our first trip.
Sure.
And then you can definitely tell I've progressively gotten better over the course of the season. I'd learned different techniques
Sure.
and different angles and different shots and things of that nature. And it was fun. It's fun to look back and see the progression. And hopefully we'll continue to progress.
Right. What is the reaction of the professional photographers that you go up to and ask for tips? They're probably a little caught off guard at
Sure.
first, thinking, wow, Michael Cuddyer's asking me for tips on how to shoot.
And I usually start the conversation by asking what kind of camera they're using and what lens they use, and then they can tell just by the lingo that you're interested in it, and then you can talk. And not many of them dabble in landscape photography, which is taking pictures of the stadiums and stuff. Most of them are obviously action shots, action photos, sporting events, things of that nature, which is totally different than what I do. And the lighting is totally different, but I still try and pick their brain and things of that nature.
Okay, great. Do you think that having a strong photography eye would ever help you have a better eye at the plate? I know it's a weird question,
No,
but you know what I mean?
I don't think they correlate, but what it has helped me do is notice things more. You're driving down the street and I notice my surroundings a little more. I notice an open field, or I notice mountains here in Arizona. I notice things a lot more than I did before I started taking photographs. And I start trying to picture what something's going to look like in a lens or through the viewer. And even if I didn't even have my camera in the same state, like now, I'll drive home and I'll be like, man, that would be a pretty cool picture right there.
Interesting. What are some of your favorite ballparks to shoot?
There was quite a few. It was American League parks. I really like shooting Comerica Park. Detroit is not the most glamorous city.
No.
When you're right up on top of them, but where they have that ballpark and the way they have it situated, the buildings in the background, although abandoned, they don't look abandoned from the stands. So it makes a pretty cool backdrop that they have, and they did a great job with the tigers and the statues and the accents that they put on Comerica Park is beautiful. San Francisco is a great place to take pictures. With the bay in the background, and
right.
They've got the Bay Bridge and left, right beyond the stadium, and I went across and took a picture with the Willie McCovey statue with the McCovey Cove, and then the stadium. So that was a really cool place to take photographs of.
Awesome, great, and you'll get some new experiences now, right? I mean,
yeah, a whole new league.
Is there any ballpark that you're really looking forward to shooting, just because you're a fan of baseball or you like that particular stadium from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool to take shots of Coors Field. That'll be fun. I think Dodger Stadium will be fun to take pictures of, just because of the history and Chavez Ravine and things of that nature, and Pittsburgh is one of the most beautiful ballparks I've ever been in. So to be able to take shots of them, and I've already got ideas with the bridges in the background how I want to compose some different shots. So it'll be exciting to go to a whole new league and get the perspectives that I was able to do in the American League.
Absolutely. Just a couple more things for you here. Doing good?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. What do you try and capture with your photos? Like, what is the goal? What are you looking for with your shots?
Well, I want to get unique shots. For instance, you Google Eiffel Tower. Obviously, you get the big picture of the Eiffel Tower and things of that nature, pictures that people have seen all the time. But as somebody who wants to take pictures and capture things, you want to get different perspectives, something that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
So, I try and get unique pictures. I've got a picture of down the foul line of every single stadium. And,
okay.
You'll have the stadium in the background, but it'll be down the foul line. So it's the same picture, but it looks different in every stadium. I try and take a picture of right at home plate, and I get right down on home plate to have the background. So I'll take the same shot in different stadiums, but each stadium makes it look unique.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other things that you like to pinpoint when you're at a stadium? Do you like to get, the stands or the outfield? Or
I pretty much scour the whole stadium. I get I start on the top, I go on the field level, I get the whole thing, and like I said, I just try and take unique shots of everything. I really like the stadiums that have statues of old players and things. I try and get unique shots of those statues.
Interesting. And one thing you mentioned, you do not get photos of your teammates.
No, I promise I don't. I promise my teammates, they got to see me carry the camera bag around all the time anyway, and I don't want them to think I'm taking pictures of them in the bathtubs or anything like cold tubs and hot tubs and stuff like that. So, some guys are particular about getting photographed while they're hitting in the cages, and so I don't even deal with it. I just take shots of the stadiums and the cities that surround the stadiums.
Right. Are there any other tricks of the trade that you've picked up recently that has helped you become a better photographer? What kinds of things have you picked up? You said you've progressed.
Right. Well, I just try and learn angles and and you play with depth of field, blurs, things of that nature, and just cool little techniques that I'll read a lot and read magazines, Digital Photographer and Popular Photography, things of that nature, just to try and come up with different ways to make the same picture look different.
It's interesting you say angles. I mean, a lot of that can relate to baseball too.
Sure.
Angles, depth perception, all that kind of thing.
Sure.
That's kind of a tie-in there, huh?
Sure.
Different, but
different. Yeah, I mean, there's not much in photography that can correlate over to make you a better player or anything like that.
Right.
One thing I was able to do was make a coffee table book of all the American League parks.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that's something that I was able to make a few and give them away as Christmas gifts and things of that nature. So remember.
Yeah.
What we're doing.
What a fabulous gift.
Yeah.
I just had a couple other questions about. Let's see. I got to get to the right page. Just bear with me, if you don't mind. Okay. I'm also doing a piece for the Rockies magazine on diet and nutrition. Okay.
Right.
Obviously, you've been in the league long enough to probably have changed some eating habits, maybe over the years from when you started with the Twins.
Sure.
How much have you changed your diet during the baseball season and the off season from when you started to where you're at now?
Well, not too much. During the season, you just kind of got to get food when you can get it. I mean, you're in these cities and you're on the road, so there's not really stoves and ovens that you can cook with when you're in the hotel. So you just basically got to try and make good choices. And then you're at the stadium where they're just making stuff that I mean, they do a great job, especially nowadays. They cater in things and they do an unbelievable job. But it's easier to eat better when you're at home, especially with me because my wife cooks everything. So it's doable. But what I try and do is make a conscious effort during the off season, because the off season is where it's going to be made for the season. If you can eat well and take care of your body in the off season, it's going to carry over into the season and allow you to kind of have a little more room for margin for error during the season. But one thing that I've always felt, you have to have fat on your body to be a baseball player. You see the guys that have the 6% body fat. Those are the guys that typically break down over the course of 162 games, because if your body doesn't have fat to burn, it's going to start burning your muscle, which ultimately you're going to break down. So, I do try and, I play at a healthy weight, but at the same time, I try and have a little bit of fat on my body just to give my body something to burn as the season goes on.
That's interesting, yeah. Do you have some staple items in your diet that you kind of rely on to keep you going that are, healthy
Not
snacks?
Really. I mean, I get breakfast every single day. I eat breakfast every day.
What would that consist of generally?
It changes. Pancakes some days, eggs, omelets some days, some days just oatmeal and fruit. But I try and get something in my body in the morning. A lot of mistakes that I made early was before I was married with kids, I wouldn't wake up until 11:30 or noon as it was. Yeah. So it would be lunch, I'd go to the field, and I would eat dinner. And so I was getting 2 meals a day. And you just feel lethargic, and I did. So I make sure I get at least 3 meals a day and then snacks here in between.
Are you a big salad guy, vegetables, meats, protein, that kind of thing? Are there anything?
I don't have anything where I have to eat something every day. I mean, obviously you want to eat clean and eat healthy, but sometimes that's just not available. So I definitely I eat meat, I eat veggies, I eat you know, pretty much whatever's thrown in front of me at the time. So
Okay.
it's nothing. I'm not too particular.
Any weaknesses? Sweets or salts,
sweets,
desserts?
Yeah, there's, especially during the season. During the off season, like I said, is my time to really make a conscious effort to eating healthy. But, yeah, during the season, yeah, we're playing so much, you burn it off anyway.
Right. Like what kind of dessert would be your favorite?
Ice cream's probably my biggest weakness. Cakes. I mean, anything that's sweet.
Right.
I eat it.
I'm with you. I know. Do you take any like vitamins or supplements?
I take a multivitamin every day.
Okay.
You know, I'd try and take a little bit of a phosphagen, which is an EAS product, kind of a creatine blend.
Right.
I'd cycle those in and out. I'll take like a 10-week cycle of that. And then protein every day. If I'm feeling, you know, kind of weak, I'll start taking some protein. But, you know, for the most part, I'd try and get all those nutrients and vitamins from what I eat.
Right, right. Nothing else too crazy, right?
Right. No.
Work with a nutritionist or anything. Never done that, right?
No, never have. Never have. And you know, knock on wood, I've never really broken down.
Right.
You know,
Let's hope that stays that way, right?
I've had some freak injuries, but nothing that my diet could have changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a different pitcher on the mound would have changed it.
Right, right.